An ideal client for me is probably a client that's doing close to about 5 million bucks a year. My unique niche is I'll find a company that's doing well in the northern hemisphere. I see myself as a bit like Christopher Columbus. Like I take the gold and then just copy and paste it to a different region.
All right, we're on with my new friend, Maxwell Nee. Maxwell, and I want to say this is a match made in heaven because we're both talking the same language, which is we are becoming co-CEOs together with our friends, right? So talk to me a little bit about what you do first, and then let's get into some questions on how it works.
Yeah, really good question. So I describe myself as an entrepreneur first, and investor second. So what I mean by that is, yeah, I love to build businesses, love to solve problems for people, make money from it. But I love to do that by increasing share value, not just by taking out fees and cash flow and payments. So, in my last business, we grew that super quick. We grew it to about 250K a month in less than 2 years, from zero. And the first 3 months we struggled. We made zero money for the first 3 months. So when we picked up speed, we really picked up speed. And that was an amazing journey, working 17 hours a day, a lot of fun. First time making that type of money, so really exciting. And then what happened was, when I walked away from it with almost nothing, because we totally geared the business towards sucking out as much cash as possible every month instead of, you know, long term thinking, building up equity and building up shareholder value. So now I'm trying to swing the other way a little bit more.
Fantastic. And I'm right there with you. Get about the same level, 250K, get to a certain point, you're like, okay, this wasn't what I signed up for. I wouldn't say it signed up for. Let's say this is something I can do. So I could do it again if I wanted to, but I think we've both got better ideas. And that's even my team before I left was like, hey, boss, why don't you do that consulting stuff? Because you do that so well.
Mm,
And so let's talk about what you're doing now. How do you make money? One, and
mhm.
who do you make money with?
Yeah, so an ideal client for me is probably a client that's doing close to about 5 million bucks a year. So they're doing 5 million bucks a year. They are in an industry that builds shareholder value well. So a perfect example is the company that I'm a big investor in now, which is called Scorecard Marketing, Score app, which promotes a SaaS product. So it's a lead generation software, about half the price of ClickFunnels, and does in my opinion, a better job. And um, they've hit the holy trinity in terms of increasing shareholder value. In shareholder value, you want to have some IP, so you want to have something that no one else has, which is called defensible, intellectual property. Defensible meaning that there's like a moat around it, so it's not easy to copy that. The next thing is that they provide recurring revenue. So not just revenue, but recurring revenue. And that can't just be from one big client. You can't just be doing um, ESG reporting for Microsoft, because then you're essentially a service provider. But if your revenue is distributed across thousands of users, then that's recurring revenue. And then the last piece is, it's got to be scalable. So it's got to be, you can't be like a service company or like a Facebook ads company where every time you get 10 new clients, you got to hire 3 new people, right? It's,
Yep.
it's got to be, it's got to be a leverage there in terms of the people slash the clients. So this company has all that. So we are, reverse engineering the perfect company that someone else would want to buy, right? That's how you build shareholder value.
So let's go back to my original question: is how do you get paid? How do you make money on this? Because this show is all about how people make money. And I'm curious about a couple of things, which is that one, we're both doing the same thing, which is that I'm doing this business of coming in and suggesting to people that they should listen to some of the strategies because I've done this 1,000 times with 1,000 different companies to
Mm,
some degree. But I always ask for a retainer. But I'm starting to think, and this stuff that I'm doing now is just perhaps revenue share, perhaps split in not necessarily profits, but a share of what we build together from where it starts, which is sort of
Mm.
like a, not necessarily an equity push, but more of um, a revenue share that's based off of performance. I mean, how is it working with the company that you're currently working on, or a company that you're working on?
Yeah, so this one's a little bit unique because I invested in this company. So I put some cash, hard cash in, 4 or 5 years ago, a long time ago, to get into this company because I knew that it would be where it is now. So I always want half and half. So I want some equity, and also I want to perform a role if I really believe in the company, and then time needs to be compensated for that role. So that ends up being fees or consulting in some shape or form. So my unique niche is I'll find a company that's doing well in the northern hemisphere, right? So they might be doing well in Europe or in the US, and then I'll say, hey, look, how would you like it if I copied and pasted your efforts because you're a digital company in Asia Pacific and open you up
Hmm.
to a whole new market? Because I live in
Wow.
I live in Singapore, so that's like my niche. So I see myself as a bit like Christopher Columbus. Like I take the gold and then just copy and paste it to a different region. And then, for that, I might negotiate, hey, look, everything that I bring to you in Asia, I want to set up a new holding company, but then I want 25%. You guys get 75%, I want 25%, and a small retainer is necessary to put everything behind it. And whenever I jump into a company as well, it's not just me. It's a bit like you. Like I've got a team. You've met
Yep.
one member of my team who helped to book this call, and I um I bring all that. So really, my time is exactly like a CEO. So I sort of bring like a little mobile satellite team. Complete the role. I do face to face stuff when I need to, like this. This is exactly something that my team can't do, but I need to do. So it's perfect.
So in essence, are you building distribution for them in this particular case of the company that you were talking about before, and we can get into them in a minute. But was that the arrangement to say, hey, look, you guys are fine. I'm going to build this other thing. It reminds me. I had a conversation the other day with someone who was working for a very high end um, marketing guy who we all would know if you said his name, but that guy was not doing any physical mail. He was not talking to
Mm,
any of his clients through the mail. And again, had this conversation. He said, all I did was just say, look, well, I'll just, you're not doing it. So I'll just take 25% of whatever we make from the stuff I mail out. Like it's a win-win. You're not going to do it anyways. So if I
mm,
do it, I can run it and you can get the revenue from it. And so he set up a little program, QR code, and lo and behold, there's a lot of money being made all of a sudden that was not even being thought about because of the addresses that were in this person's database, because they weren't really ready to do it and they didn't care. They were too busy
yeah.
doing other things.
Yeah, that's all I'm interested in. Like things that are just sitting there, and there's either no bandwidth, there's no expertise, you're in the wrong time zone. Just a really simple reason why it's not being monetized, right? So I've got a friend who's an investment banker, and he used to own a valuation shop. He used to take 300 companies public a year,
Wow.
and like large team. He had 20 guys working for him. He's 65 now, so this is a, across a time period of 40 years ago. And one of the deals that he did was he brought Asahi, the Japanese beer brand, to Canada like
Wow.
decades ago, and that was a no-brainer because the taste profile is pretty similar. Canadians make good beer, so it was very easy for them to bring the technology over, and it was totally untapped for Asahi, and so he got paid shares, consulting fees, um, you know, budgets, marketing, everything, like the whole package. Just be the
Yep.
entrepreneur, be my satellite entrepreneur. So
Yep.
that's like the golden goose opportunity. for a guy like me.
Well, and that's fascinating. So I get the model. There's a role, consulting role that's a paid structure, and then there's a retainer slash kind of arrangement in that particular case. And then there's a potential for a very large um, rev share slash portion of this to work out distribution strategies and to work and build another. But are you working also with the core other side of the business too? Because that's what happens to me is that I can come in on one side and pretty soon within
Yeah,
5 minutes, there's all this other stuff that goes right into like production where I have to say, wait a minute, we're doing this stuff, but we got to do it right. And we got to think through this. And I got to, because if I'm going to do this over here, we got to fix all this stuff over here so it works together. Because that's,
yeah,
and again, we won't get into details of like the mechanics of it, but I think you kind of understand from
yeah,
what
yeah.
I originally had
You're
said, which is that it's just not as easy as it looks. It's not like you just go and build a Salesforce and you go and run a distribution.
yeah.
It's like there's always going to be validation of models and systems that need to be thought about.
Yeah, you're speaking my exact language. So coming back to what you said, there's consulting fees, there's rev share, there's this that. Um, it's actually upside down what you described. So usually the consulting fees are an afterthought. So the
Correct.
consulting fees are the last thing that I ask for. The first thing that I ask for is the share, is the equity share
Makes sense.
or the revenue
Sure.
share
Because
because
there's no risk.
yeah, well, we're not just there's no risk, right? It's easier to sell, but also we everything that I love to do and get involved in is holistic, just like what you said, right? So I've been in a few deals now where I've made the big mistake. I was just I was paid a commission just to be a sales guy, and I did those deals because I wanted to learn, and I did learn a lot. But I found I was like, wow, my ability to do my job is really hampered by this other department. But I'm sort of thinking the work it takes for me to fix this other department, it's not worth it unless I'm at least a 5% shareholder. So now I've learned to ask for the share up front, and it's like, hey, look, I will, I've done it before, and I will help your business in a holistic way, and I'll do this revenue part. But I want a piece of the big picture of the whole picture, and it doesn't have to be a big piece, just like a small piece. But that's what I bring, right? And also
Love it.
bringing you into a new region, that's what I bring. And then that way, then I don't have to worry about boundaries of, you know, that's not my job, because when you have that attitude, everything's broken before it already starts. The whole that's
Yeah,
not my job attitude.
and that also pits people against each other internally, employee wise, because then you're friends with these people, but they're not friends with you because you're working on their project, and then all of a sudden it becomes a fight, right? I get it, totally get it, and
Yeah.
that's great, smart. Two questions for you, and then I want to ask more about the product itself and what they're doing. So, what happens if it all screws up and they say, you know what, we don't like you anymore?
That happens. They haven't said it in that way, but ideally you want to have your shareholding locked in on a vesting period, and it's very, very bad faith for them to cut you off before the vesting period. Like one of my friends, his shareholding, he was cut off from one of his companies he does this with. Like I'm not the only person that does this 6 days before the vesting period, before the shares
Mhm,
that were actually locked in. I
mhm.
said, "Oh wow, well," and he was going to invest on top of that,
Mm,
but everyone. So there is a dating period where things can go wrong, and you want to have that dating period to work out. Okay, look, is this person smiling to my face but doing other things behind my face? Like you want to literally date as if you're getting to know someone to marry them.
sure, and I understand that. And so, sorry, I want to interrupt you for 1 second. Because you invested in this company too, which would probably lead you to think that the vesting schedule would be already particularly set up so that it is a little bit more to your favor because of the fact that you invested, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Now,
I mean, I'm just more curious than anything else.
yeah, no, no. Now I've learned to, investing's the highest risk, right? Investing's more risky than working for free because it actually costs you money to invest, right? So you want to do it lowest risk to highest risk in that order, which is get the vested shares, um, get them get a little bit of fee for your time all up until then. Usually, like that could have been a month, could be 2 months, could be 6 months, right? And then consider an investment on top. And then by then, you're 6 months in. You've had 6 months to learn the business. Scale it, work out where all the quick wins are. Like the first thing I'm looking for is quick wins. If there's no quick wins, then this isn't for me. I'm not the guy. I might say
Right.
talk to Matt Coffee, right? He might find you more quick wins. So yeah.
Well, okay. Here's the broom. Go clean up that mess. That's typically what we end up doing, right? We come in to fix a very complicated spaghetti mess a lot of the time, which is, I think,
Yeah, and there's so much
it's
value in that,
right.
right?
Oh, it's huge. And then we've got the case studies to show. But I guess I think for you, so now you've invested, you've got 5%, whatever, and so now you're doing some, work, and you're getting the consulting role comes kind of out of that because you're saying, well, we're going to need to do now this plus because I didn't see it. Now we have to do it, and so now you do consulting fee. I understand that. So let me finalize the kind of conversation. Besides the vesting fee and the consulting, so let's say someone says, you know what, we don't really like you anymore. You stomped on our flowers and we don't like it, however you want to phrase it. And so do you have a contract for a vested period of like if it's either consulting or revenue share? Is there a period of time like, okay, fine, you guys want to leave, and I get it, didn't work out, but you owe me the 6 months or 12 months worth of revenue or revenue share or equity share, whatever is there like a tail at the end of this if there is a breakup period? I'm just curious because I'm thinking about these myself because there's so many people I know who want to work, and I'm like, but what happens when it all goes kablooey? And again, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be realistic. Like, what do you do? And is there, you have that in your contracts, or do you just basically say, hey, when we end, and I still get my percentage if you sell? Or I just, again, I'm inept to some degree about what contractual rights or non-rights that someone has, and sometimes it's just like a back of a cocktail napkin discussion, and that doesn't always play out as much as you think it would. Well, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so you don't want to do that in this space. That can be okay in a service industry when it's like, hey, look, I'm going to show up to run your Facebook ads for you, and you can see me making a bit difference to your business. And then if you don't pay me, I'll just turn your ads off, right? And
Right.
and, and delete all the creatives. So,
Right.
um, but the thing about shareholdings is once you've allocated shares to someone, it's like it's like selling it's like selling one of your spare bedrooms. Like once it's sold, it's sold. Like it's gone. So
Right.
so then you got to buy it back off that person. You can't just reverse engineer a contract to get it back off them. So we're talking about a serious legal transaction every single time. So you have to treat it as such, right? And that's what's exciting about it, because yeah, I've done my work to earn this share, and you've given it to me, and I've earned it, and that's great. And now I own the spare bedroom in your house forever, for whenever you want to sell it.
Until
But
you
but
buy me out, right?
yeah, until you buy me out, until whoever else buys me out. But the value that I've brought to add that, to attach that spare bedroom onto your house, has increased the whole value of the house by 20%.
Right.
So
So you've
so so,
you've
so you so,
mechanically operated it. I understand
yeah,
now. Yeah.
so you don't want to get rid of me,
Right.
type of thing, right? And then for guys like you and me, what we're thinking about is, okay, 10 years from now, we want to have a portfolio of spare bedrooms in
100%.
houses, and then what's really exciting at that point is, yeah, one of them might sell, but you have a portfolio, and then because you're a shareholder in those, you will float around and help them all, and sort of evolve into like a board member, where you're just like the guy, the outs the consultant with an interest, right?
Yeah.
And you'll make that introduction for a client that you come along, because it 10x's that month of revenue for one of your portfolio companies.
Fascinating. So why don't you spend 1 minute on the company itself, and
Yeah.
then if there's anything you want to leave us with, that'd be great.
Yeah, great. So I'd love to leave you with a copy of this book. So we have a whole bunch of copies, physical copies, if not PDF copies of Scorecard Marketing. What it is that it's a lead generation software that uses quiz funnels. So it asks questions and gives a personalized report, experience, or feedback. It's two-way feedback to your ideal clients. There's a free version, starts at free, goes to like $49 a month, 89, 119, and we have 7,000 clients using it right now.
Fantastic.
So really,
Fantastic.
really,
Congrats.
yeah, mature business. Yeah, thank you so much. It's pretty exciting to be behind one of these, software businesses.
Max, it's been awesome. I really appreciate your time, and I want to catch up to you later on uh, in 2025 and see what you're up
Yeah,
to, because this is just right down my pipe, and I really appreciate the conversation. It's been fascinating, and I'm hoping that there's other things that you'll bring to the table to say, "Hey, look at this new flower I brought to the table."
yeah. Thank you. Likewise, happy to.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers.